The year was 1997. The personal computer revolution that had been begun in a garage 21 years earlier was dying. Apple Computer, the company that had dared to challenge IBM, that had democratized computing for the masses, was now just 90 days away from total collapse. Under CEO Gil Amelio, Apple had lost another $708 million. The stock price had crashed to a 12-year low. The company that once inspired the world was now bleeding talent, money, and hope. And then, on October 6, 1997, came the moment that would either bury Apple forever or ignite the greatest comeback in business history. At a technology conference, Michael Dell, the billionaire founder of Dell Computer, was asked a simple question about Apple's future. What would you do to fix Apple? Without hesitation, Dell delivered what seemed like a death sentence. What would I do? I'd shut it down and give the money back to the shareholders. The tech world erupted in laughter. Apple was finished. Game over. Or so they thought.
But 12 years earlier, a different chapter had begun. Steve Jobs, exiled in 1985, had spent over a decade building Next. On December 20th, 1996, Apple shocked Silicon Valley. They were acquiring Next for $427 million. Steve Jobs was coming home. One Apple employee said, "I'm watching history right now. Oh my God, we're saved." But Jobs wasn't CEO yet. That took something bigger. Behind the scenes, as Apple kept losing money, Jobs made his move. Over one weekend in July 1997, he convinced the board to oust Gil Amelio. By September 16th, Steve Jobs became interim CEO. The exile was over. The war was about to begin. Jobs inherited chaos, dozens of products, no focus. He had to act fast. In what he called the most painful thing I've ever had to do, Jobs cut 4,100 jobs, nearly a third of Apple's workforce. He's been pretty hard about it, he admitted, but we need only A players. It was harsh, but Apple had to survive. Then came Dell's comment. Instead of breaking him, it lit a fire. Jobs was ready to fight. When Jobs read Dell's insult, he didn't flinch. He fired back. CEOs are supposed to have class. I can see that isn't an opinion you hold. But email wouldn't win the war. Only one thing could: revolutionary products. Apple's product line was a maze. Power Macs, Quadras, Performas, confusion reigned. After weeks of exhausting meetings, Jobs had heard enough. In the middle of another chaotic meeting, Jobs stood up and shouted, "Stop! This is crazy," he said. Then he walked to a whiteboard and drew a cross. 4 squares. Consumer and Pro at the top. Desktop and portable on the side. We're going to make 4 great products. Everything else, gone. The room protested. Jobs didn't budge. He slashed Apple's product line by 70%. 2 of those products would soon change the world and prove Dell wrong. Building 4 at Infinite Loop began to buzz. In a small studio, a young designer, Jonathan Ive, was reimagining computers. No more beige boxes. Now, color, clarity, elegance. Jobs told his team, "We're not just making computers, we're making a statement." But Apple needed more than products. It needed a soul. On September 28, 1997, Apple launched Think Different, a $90 million campaign. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. It wasn't about specs, it was about identity. Apple wasn't just back, it had something to say.